Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Athena, and Apollo, only a fraction of the gods and goddesses of the ancient Greek pantheon. The word pantheon comes from the Greek words pan, meaning all, and theos, meaning gods. The Temple of Gods represents the family tree where all Greek mythology originated. Zeus is god of the sky and the father of all gods, but not all of his children were born from his wife Hera. Zeus was known for his affairs with mortal women, creating demigods on Earth. Demigods and heroes had an intense ability to communicate with the gods, however mortals could also communicate with them. In the Homeric epic, the Iliad, the demigod Achilles even asked his nymph mother to reason with Zeus to change the outcome of the Trojan Wars.
The interrelationship of gods and humans shows us that Greek gods were not immune to human emotions. This concept contrasts with the all-knowing sentiment in many monotheistic religions.
In Judaism, Hebrews had a special covenant with God. People who were not born Hebrew were not revered as much and often received very harsh punishments for their actions. Although Hebrews were favored by God, they had to endure very strict and specific rules. If they would stray from their godly paths, Yahweh would often kill their loved ones or confiscate their land. The Hebrew relationship with God was more like a traditional relationship between a father and his child. The Greek religion, on the other hand, is more of a boss/employee kind of metaphor. Either way, it was a priority to be submissive to God or the gods. In order to please the gods, the Greeks performed certain rituals. The most common ritual was an animal sacrifice. Young bulls were the animal of choice. The number of bulls sacrificed depended on the occasion and the mood of the god. The animals would be killed and then barbecued and feasted on in the temple. The second most common form of worship was leaving tribute at the altar of the deity. Tributes left at the altar ranged from drinks to precious objects. Although the forms of worship didn't vary much, each Greek city-state had its own god. They would pray to this god in particular to grant them protection and prosperity. Women, however, wanted to be obedient to not only the gods, but their husbands as well, because they thought it would appease the gods. Even though they were goddesses in Greek mythology and women were allowed to partake in certain religious ceremonies, women still were second-class citizens. Women usually did the work at home, like raising the children, while men played a primary role outside the home. They weren't even allowed into major events such as the Olympics.
Itan omos I plotike itan aftea. Oton oman diestis. Tis Sephige, tin Anakaripsan, ala tis Herisan, tin Zoe, Dioptiocto, Andres, tis Igorgenius, tis Itane Olympiaki Nikiteves.
Although women were brushed aside in society, they had the job of raising the next generation. This created a lot of pressure to fulfill the god's will and often got the short end of the stick.
In the Greek myth of the Minotaur, Pasiphae, Minos' wife, is punished for Minos' lack of will to sacrifice a bull to the Greek gods. Aphrodite puts a curse on Pasiphae to be attracted to bulls.
These days, the polytheistic gods of archaic Greece are a little outdated. Now most theists turn to monotheism. Monotheism came about after the establishment of the Hebrew religion. As the Greek city-states started to decline around 431 BCE, the Greek people dispersed throughout the Western world. Years later, when Jesus, the Messiah, came, the Romans adopted Christianity and created the Roman Catholic Church. The Greeks then adopted the belief of the Roman Catholics but ended up splitting off because of a few differences. The Greeks then created the Greek Orthodox Church, which became the religion of the East. While we no longer worship the gods of old, we cannot ignore their role in this ever-changing world.